We have a question right here.
Mr. Sarles, our monitor with WUSA 9. Regarding, before your vote, the vote to confirm you, there was a lively discussion here over the budget. Discussion that tried to balance whether you raise services, whether you raise fares and fees, or whether you cut services. Having to deal with a system that's partially broken and partially broke, on which side of the fence do you fall?
This is caught most of the discussion. And this is a topic that's going on, discussion that's going on in practically every transit agency in the United States. Certainly I was dealing with that in New Jersey Transit. My view has always been, and I think it's the views you heard expressed here by the board, is that service cuts and fares are the absolute last resort. But in the economic times we're dealing with, these are the things that have to be considered. They're tough decisions. They're not made lightly. Certainly, as I mentioned in my personal background, I feel, these decisions, but in the end, you only have so much resources, and you try to deliver absolutely as much service as you can with those resources, but you have to live within that budget. And where we end up is after having the input from the public and other groups, then we, the board, ultimately will make that decision, and I will have input into that, but having heard the input first.
Follow-up question. You were talking about safety in terms of accidents and so forth, but as the primary mover of federal workers, the metro system is also part of the nation's security infrastructure. What can Metro do to protect itself from a threat like terrorism? You've got a pretty small metropolitan transit police force. So what can Metro do to keep itself safe from being a target to those types of threats and safety problems?
Obviously, since I haven't learned enough about Metro yet, let me just answer in a more general fashion. Coming from northern New Jersey and New York City, I think we're just as sensitive and have lived through some major terror incidents just like you have in Washington, D.C. And what I learned from that is, and we also have a police force at New Jersey Transit, what you need is for the police to work closely with the other agencies, the FBI, other police agencies. Certainly in New Jersey, adjacent to New York City, you have New York City Police. They have to work very closely together, share intelligence, understand what's going on. Intelligence is such an important piece of this because when you run a system, any transit system, you're vulnerable, just as anything else is vulnerable. Highways are vulnerable. So it's working together among the police agencies to understand what's going on, have the intelligence, and to react accordingly. And I will tell you, based on my own experience, having gotten phone calls different times of the day and night, they come up, they're handled, and there's a lot of great professionals in this country dealing with that issue.
We have time for about 3 more questions.
Mr. Sarles, you mentioned transparency, openness, and outside eyes. I think I'm speaking for most of my colleagues, so I'd say that Metro could do a lot more in freeing its employees at all levels to speak to the media, which performs an important oversight and transparency role. Are you willing to re-examine Metro's media practices to lift restrictions on members interacting with the media and make it more of a two-way street?
As part of my learning experience when I come here, I will certainly look at that.
Anybody else?
For Sean Esker from CTV News, in terms of your learning experience, how familiar are you with DC's metro system? And if you're going to take over duties March 29th, that gives you a couple weeks to prepare. What's on your agenda? How are you going to do that?
Sure. In terms of my familiarity, as I said, from probably the earliest days of Metro on my visits to Washington, I've used Metro, always impressed by it. Again, as I said before, my view here, my plan of action here is to meet with the different groups, the employees, outside constituencies, learn their concerns, learn it rapidly. I mean, I don't have a lot of time. Learn it rapidly because I just don't want to go off, with ideas but not really having the information. I'm an engineer, I got to sort of understand things. But I want to focus on understand those concerns, understand what already is in progress. The board, John, have acted already on certain things. There are more recommendations coming in, and then I want our team, the senior staff, others here, to then implement the recommendations that we feel will do the most in the shortest period of time.
George, may I just make a
Sure.
Just want to make one clarification, because I was not clear earlier. Although Mr. Sarles will arrive on the 29th of March, our current general manager will continue to be the general manager until April 2nd, and Mr. Sarles will be working with him in a transition period so that he has an opportunity to see all the different things that you need to see and learn about in that period, and then the day after, he will become the official general manager.
And I'll just add one thing to that. Obviously, this has moved very quickly, as was mentioned before, but I will tell you that I have friends that live here. I have friends that work in and around WMATA, and I've been talking to them, so I'm getting a feel, and it will become much more intense once I start working.
You a Redskins fan?
Who asked that question?
Channel 9.
Channel 9. That's a pretty personal question. And I'll also tell you, I'm more of a baseball fan than a football fan. But I will say this. That if I have the opportunity to get to some sporting events, I will root for the home team.